So, I have the honor to sit next to my dear friend, Mr. Martin Engstroem, who is the founder and director of the Verbier Festival.
And I have the honor and pleasure to sit next to my dear friend, Gábor Takács-Nagy, who is one of the greatest musicians you can imagine. So the Verbier Festival Chamber Orchestra is, of course, the best possible ambassador of the Verbier Festival. The beginning of the story with the Chamber Orchestra was that we were still under heavy sponsorship of UBS, who had created the UBS Verbier Festival Orchestra in the year 2000. And we were touring many countries, many cities, and I think in the 8-9 years that the orchestra existed, we toured in 88 cities in 35 countries, if I'm not wrong. But there were too much demand from UBS to tour this orchestra, so we started thinking about creating a smaller group, which became the UBS Verbier Festival Chamber Orchestra. And it also coincided with Maxim Vengerov, who wanted to record all the Mozart violin concertos. We're talking 2004, 2005. And so we started working on this project. UBS was on board, and Maxim had the idea that we should pick the musicians from the big orchestra, the ones we wanted to have, and go to a remote place for 3 weeks, and out of these musicians create a body. So we landed in a kibbutz in Israel, and kibbutz Afyakim in the North Galilee, and stayed there for 3 weeks. I wasn't there the whole time, but during the time I was there were lots of tears and there were lots of sweat, and nobody could disappear. We were sort of out in nowhere. Maxime was very tough, but wonderful string player, of course, and musician, and started bringing this orchestra together, or these musicians together, to become an orchestra. And so we did this tour with him in Canada, America, Europe, 25 concerts back in the spring 2005. And that was the beginning of the orchestra. And if I then jump forward a couple of years, we had more and more events. One was in New York with Dmitri Sitkovetsky. Then there were some other concerts. And then their first summer in Verbier was which year? I think it was 2007, if I'm not wrong.
2006.
2006.
2006, okay.
And Gábor was one of the conductors. And at the end of the run, there were 6 different concerts, 6 different conductors. I took the orchestra to a meeting, and I told them, okay, I think this orchestra will have a life by its own. UBS is very interested in doing more, and the orchestra sounds fantastic. You had 6 conductors with you this summer, or 6. Not everybody was a conductor. I mean, Maxim Vengerov was a violinist turned conductor. Gábor was just starting to conduct. So everybody had a different profile, but the orchestra, I think, almost unanimously voted for Gábor. I told them, are you sure? Because Gábor is a pretty unknown profile on the circuit, and there was nothing to do. Gábor. this kind of relationship, enthusiasm between the orchestra members and Gábor have just continued to grow. One of the orchestra members, what does he call orchestra members? Gáborites? Gáborized. Musicians are Gáborized once they are one of your victims in front of you. They are Gáborized. It's really catching because the way Gábor is making music is unique. So I'm really glad that I asked the orchestra. Usually I don't ask anybody for artistic choices. I sort of go ahead. But this time I asked the orchestra, and so I'm glad I listened to them, and I think what we have achieved so far is absolutely wonderful.
We'll take that again. Okay.
Second serve.
Good.
Second serve. Second serve. Djokovic second serve.
And in the last few years, I have changed my strategy a little bit with programming conductors. Now in the last few years, some of the great conductors of our time, like Simon Rattle, Pappano, Lavjani, Klaus Mekele, etc., they come to Verbier to do two concerts. They do Verbier Festival Orchestra and Verbier Festival Chamber Orchestra, in order also for the orchestra musicians to have new blood and new perspectives, and also to introduce the chamber orchestra to different type of conductors. I see how the reaction is. For instance, now a couple of weeks ago, we had a release on our Verbier Festival Gold series, which we have together with Deutsche Grammophon, and we released 2 Beethoven symphonies with Simon Rattle conducting, which means that he was very happy with his concerts. So artistically, I'm trying to get a different profile of conductors to work with them, and at the same time develop the activities of the chamber orchestra to tour more new markets. There are some, in Asia it's very difficult to tour a chamber orchestra because the public wants big sounds, but over the years we started touring in China in 2003, and the big orchestra, chamber orchestra, probably have had 10 tours over the last 21 years. So the Verbier Festival has become a brand in Asia, has become a brand also through Medici. Every year we try to build a little bit more, and I really feel the chamber orchestra is a fantastic ambassador because of its musical inspiration and how they are on stage. It's a bunch of amazing musicians who really show their joy in playing. I mean, we all go to concerts all the time. We see how symphony orchestra members can look and how they often behave. But our chamber orchestra, I feel that each member is an ambassador of the Verbier Festival. Each member is an instrument of their music director. And I also feel that Gábor is so much on top of each musician in the orchestra that they all feel that he's looking at me. I have to do my best because he's going to notice it. And this, of course, makes every concert special. And once musicians start feeling that way, it sort of spreads in the group. And everybody's trying to give their very, very best and outdo their colleagues. And so I think we have a really beautiful group of musicians traveling around the world representing the Verbier Festival.